Your journey begins when you stop trying to compare your next step to someone else's 1000th step. This is something I've been thinking a lot about lately, because even I fall into this trap a decent amount of time where I see someone who I find really admirable or I find inspiring, and I look at them, and it does spark these imaginations and these visions of, oh, I could do that, I could do that. What would it be like to do that? Oh, how cool would it be to do that? Maybe it's creating a bunch of things on YouTube. Maybe it's going and speaking in front of an audience. Maybe it's creating music, because I really love to sing. And then, after that sort of explosion of inspiration happens, we sort of dissipate back down into our life. And we look around. And we go, how the hell am I going to do that? Right? Like, I'm nowhere near that. I don't even have the equipment for the things I want to do. I don't have the connections. I don't have the money. I don't have the next step. Like, what do I do now? We find ourselves kind of coming back to this present moment, and we begin to look at that big vision or that example of someone else and compare it to this moment right now. And of course, it will seem disappointing or discouraging or distracting in a way, because that inspiration was tapping into something within us that does want to get there and that actually can, right? We actually can create what we would like in life. It might look different than the way that showed up for someone else. But I don't really think that's the point, ultimately, to try to exactly copy what someone else does, right? That's not really what you were envisioning. Sure, the visual might have looked similar because that's what you had the example of. But in truth, you wanted the experience of doing something like that yourself, your own way. And so it's this really powerful moment, or powerful practice, to come back to yourself. And I will say this too. Another thing that I kind of get trapped in is that I will have that where I compare myself to someone else, but then it makes me pull back and not take the next steps, whatever my steps would be for that thing to be realized in my life, right? And then also, I will have these certain people that I like and that I'll follow over the courses of years, right? And for example, I think I mentioned Kyle Cease. He's someone who I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I was kind of getting into his stuff and I really liked it. I liked the involving out loud element, right? And then I watched one of his most recent things, and he was saying on an interview or something like that he's like, yeah, I think I'll do this for about one more year, but then, something else is calling me. And I felt this almost spark of sadness within me, right? About him saying he's come to the end of his journey with that thing that I found really inspiring. And I was almost like, wait, what does that mean? So that isn't the end? Wait, should I be looking for something else in life, right? And then we start questioning ourselves because we're trying to put ourselves into someone else's story, and that doesn't make sense, right? That is just me witnessing somebody else's story, and it has been inspiring, and that's cool that he's got another thing he wants to do or whatever, right? But that has nothing to do with me. And there has to be some sort of element here where we can separate the other people from the energy that they are offering that inspires us, so that we can bring it back into ourselves. Be like, cool, it's not about what the other person's doing, really. It's about the fact that they showed me something, maybe, and I can see something by virtue of being inspired by them that I would like to explore, and then bring it back to yourself, right? The other person doesn't have to continually be that thing that inspires you, because that's when we create gurus, right? That's when we create That's when we create idols or trying to copy someone else's life. But like when we take the inspiration and I go, okay, cool. The thing that still is the center of what I'm doing is what I'm doing. Right? That's all I really have control over. That's what I mean by the center of, right? You are ultimately the center of your life. It doesn't make you self-centered in that you don't care about other people, because that's not what it means. It just means that you are the one that runs your life. You're the one that lives it. You have to be the center of that. Or else you spend your time and your life looking at other people and maybe feeling a vicarious sense of living through someone else, but you're not actually doing it. And then 10 years, 20 years down the line, you wake up and you're like, shit, what did I do? Where am I? What's happening? Like now that person's moved on, but like, what did I do? You know? And it can be a painful moment. But then also, it's not about that at all. So if we're just kind of wash that away of like, yeah, we see these people who are online or making videos and stuff because that's where they put their presence out in the public. And we don't see a lot of their life too. A lot of their life could look exactly like ours. Making breakfast, cleaning the shower, whatever else, random thing, going for a walk, having conflict, working out shit with other people, going to an event, sitting there and watching someone else do something. Like this has all happened, right? We see this one element of their life, this one moment of their life, and we're like, cool, that inspires something. That is what we should be focusing on, right? Like that we feel inspired, and to then get a sense of what does this actually inspire me to do myself? If I were to take it away from that other person, not away from, but like if I were to move my focus from the person who inspired me to the fact that I'm inspired now, the fact that something within me lit up, because then that's not their experience anymore. That's my experience. My experience is being inspired. And then my inspiration can help me know what my next step is, can call me to greater courage to face some fears. I've been working on a secret project, which I will eventually show. But I hit up against a little bit of a wall because I had this inspiration to create this thing, and then I was reaching out to some places where I could maybe do it because I need some other people to do it with. And no one really has gotten back to me, right? Like one person kind of got back to me and said maybe. But I remember over the weekend I've been thinking and pondering around, do I let the idea die? Or do I do more to create it, right? Do I show up even more courageously? Do I, instead of just emailing places, maybe I call them, Or do I try it a different way? That was just one idea of finding some people to do my idea with. That was just one of the ideas, one of the possibilities of the ways it could show up, right? And when I'm not comparing my next step to someone's 1000th step, I don't have to be discouraged, because now it's just an experiment. It's an adventure of what comes next. I'm focused here with me. I'm looking at my next step. I'm like, what else would be fun? How do I make this even more amazing of an experience for myself and other people? How do I capture this for me and for what I want to create in life? And it was really interesting because I was watching another YouTuber I know. Partly, I think I just watched a lot of stuff. So I'm also balancing how much I'm intaking versus what I'm actually creating. That's the journey I'm on. But I appreciate it because she said, and she's someone who has inspired me to be more on YouTube, which is Glow. The one who was doing the video every day. I don't think I can do it every day, but I can do most days. And today she was talking about how that ultimately what makes us happy is like basically meaning, right? Like having meaningful things. And meaning is going to mean something different to every single person. What I find meaningful in my life is something completely different, or at least somewhat different than maybe what you find meaningful in your life. But then also, She was talking about how that meaning usually is connected to like what we're like creating, contributing, how we're connecting with other people, contributing something to their lives as well. And a lot of what I find really inspiring is that, like the things I want to do and create are fun for me too. And I really think it would have a positive impact on other people. And so, yeah. So that's the invitation, I think, with inspiration, is to, when you feel inspired, to really sit with that, to maybe cultivate it a little bit. Taking your attention away from the thing that inspired you, because then the longer we look at that, the more chance we have of comparing ourselves. And then when we finally look down, we go, oh, I feel like I'm lacking something. I feel like maybe I can't do it anymore. And our doubts and our fears just start coming up within us. Okay, but that's because I kept looking at the other person. I kept looking at the other thing outside of me. And I didn't actually stoke the fire of inspiration here with me. Okay, so how do we do that? Yeah, cool idea, Lux. Let's talk about how we do that. Well, one of it is when we notice ourselves thinking of the other person with the inspiration, bringing it back and saying, okay, cool, that was how Kyle did it. That was how Glow did it. Okay, awesome. Great examples. I like watching them, but I can't be invested in their journey, right? I can celebrate them. I can like their videos. I can, contribute in some way if I can. Cool. But that's their journey, and what they're about makes them so incredibly happy to be alive. And that's what I want too. And I feel that sometimes. I don't feel that all the time, right? And there's more that I want to expand in my ability to just be so excited about my own life. But I have to bring that focus back here. And so when we notice ourselves looking, like continuing to kind of look at the character of the thing that inspired us, the person out there, bring our attention back in. Going, all right, yes, that is cool. I love that that person did that. I love that I'm feeling inspired by that. But now, what does that mean for me? If I were to bring this to my context right now, what could my actual next step be? Let yourself percolate on that for a little bit. Like, what could that actually mean? And it took me a little while of just sitting with the fact that I felt inspired and just kind of letting my own imagination that involved me in it, not just viewing someone else doing it, but that involved me in it, inspire some ideas of why I even thought to reach out to those places in the first place. I will eventually share what I'm doing. So I've been keeping it vague right now. And then that sense within me where after the couple of days of not hearing anything and going, oh, that was such a scary step for me to even email those people, and because one of them might have said yes, and I would then have to show up and do it, that I really had to sit with, okay, if someone doesn't say yes, are you going to say no to your thought, to your idea, to the inspiration that you had? Or you're going to rethink it? In one sense, not take no for an answer. And it doesn't mean to those people, always in relationships, no is an answer, right? But it means to the idea, to the idea and realizing it. Don't take no for an answer. Just because that person said no does not mean there's no way it can be created. What am I actually committed to? Am I committed to showing up and creating a life that I really, really love, that I'm excited about, that challenges me, which includes when I'm afraid, which includes facing those fears, it includes being courageous, it includes continuing to show up even if the first attempt didn't necessarily create what I wanted. But what was interesting is that it did create something. It didn't create nothing. It made me actively face the fear. And that was a step in showing up to the dream, right? That was a scary step. I remember, you'll see a video later of me being like, I'm so scared. I'm going to send these emails. And then I sent them, and I realized, cool, that I faced the fear. Nice. I feel more settled here in this step. And now do I take another courageous step and just keep going. And the thing is that every single person that inspires you, they had that same exact experience at the very beginning where they're taking these tentative steps. Ah, oh my goodness. And they're facing that fear over and over, and they're doing it, poorly at first, and they're doing it better, and then they're doing it better. Even Glow today said, she has watched her videos from 10 years ago, and she's like, I think she said something like, I'm disgusted with it, right? Because now she can create videos like every single day that are incredible quality. And 10 years ago, of course, it wasn't going to be like that. She had the 10 years of doing it. And that can be so hard sometimes. So I want to validate, that's hard. It's hard to see people who have been doing something for 10 years and you're coming at it day one, or coming at it again, even after like 6 months, and you're like, God damn it, I want to be over there. That's when that practice of bringing your attention back to yourself really matters, especially for sustainability of your ideas and for realizing them. Bringing it back to yourself and being like, okay, yeah, of course I want that. So, because I want that, this is all part of it. Like, her making that video today is not the end of the journey. She's going to make another one tomorrow. That's the commitment she's made and clearly proven she can do, right? So even this moment in time that we sort of snapshot and then hold up to ourselves, like, this is your comparison, this is the goal or whatever, isn't even the end of their journey. They're going to show up again tomorrow. So it's never about what someone else is doing. It's never about that. They can inspire me to come back to my own self and then get curious and playful about what does my next step look like. Cool. Awesome. What if I get to really enjoy this? That's the whole point anyways. Right? It's never really about getting to one specific place. Maybe you've done that. Maybe you made that amount of money you really wanted. Maybe you got into that relationship you really wanted. Maybe you went to that place you really wanted. And then you're like, cool. That is great. That's awesome. But like, there's still more of life to live. Now what? So if we realize anytime we think we're being inspired by a moment of something or someone else, a moment of someone else's life, that's never it. You're inspired by the fact that you desire to create a path before you that you can walk, and that you get to experience new things every day or different things every day, or you want to create a different experience in your life. That's what you're really inspired by, right? You being able to live something, you doing it your way, you having it in your life, whatever that experience looks like. So bringing your awareness back to yourself. Cool. Maybe sometimes shutting off videos of other people or the things that are inspiring you, or getting off the internet and the social medias, right? Because you're going to just have, if you keep scrolling, you're just going to have a million more examples of people that are 1,000 steps ahead in their own journey. And what's interesting is, like, maybe it looks that way, but they're really only on step 100, and you're actually not that far from what you're looking at. You don't know, right? When you compare yourself, that's not helping. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help you, especially. So what if you kind of spent some time with your own self? And you got to the core of it, The core of it, I think comparison is really distraction, ultimately. Comparison, because it doesn't produce anything other than negative feelings and doubts and fears. I ultimately think it's just a mechanic of the mind of a distraction, The thing that you actually need to face is what you're actually feeling and thinking about your next step, which is probably that it's a little scary. It's a little outside of your comfort zone. What if you let yourself feel it? Yeah, I'm reaching toward my phone for social media to scroll, because actually in this moment, I know that my next step for this thing I want to create is kind of scary. And if I feel it, it's a lot, But then, if you do feel it, you allow it to move through your body. It stops becoming that thing that pushes you towards distraction, and instead, it's just a part of your next step. You're actually on your next step by showing up to your present moment experience and not avoiding whatever you're feeling. Or even if it's disappointment, right? Maybe in this moment, because you have been comparing yourself to someone else, in this moment you look around and you're like, well, but if I get present, I have to feel disappointed about where I am right now. That can be a real thing too. And disappointment is just an emotion. Emotions pass. Disappointment is just a thought. It's a judgment. It comes from a judgment, right? Of looking at our life and saying, this isn't enough, and I didn't do enough, and I'm someplace wrong. I shouldn't be here. And we discount everything that we've actually been through to get to this moment. And everything we had to grow, and all those things we had to face, and all those scary nights, and those like fucking giant leaps that we took to get our own self here to this moment. We discount all of that because this moment doesn't look like someone else's 1000th step. Come on. No. No more. You know? If you look back, if you look at your life right now and you say, well, I'm disappointed, then you're discounting everything you had to do to get to this moment. And your life is so unique and powerful, no matter what happened. And in this moment, you're listening to this, which means you have something really amazing and beautiful to create with your life. And you know it. Why am I crying? Ultimately, nothing matters other than this moment right now. Because this moment is where your choice is. This moment is where you can do anything, right? Not anything, but I mean like this is the only place you can do anything is in this moment. You can't do anything about the past. And I found a lot too that I have done things and then, you know, maybe shortly after that or a while after that, I'll feel disappointed that my life didn't change. But then like another while after that, I'll be like, oh, actually that was a step I didn't even realize I was taking that actually helped. And I'm not saying that has to be the case. But ultimately, right now is the only moment. Now is truly the only moment. You know? And now, and now, and now. Understand that feeling things about the past or putting our emotions back there is also a form of distraction. And it's okay to in the now moment, grieve because you're processing and you're allowing yourself more space to be creative now, to have more of your power now. Cool. But you're doing that now, right? Now matters. This moment. So yeah. So if you've been feeling inspired, allow that to be an experience within you. Bring your attention back to you. Bring yourself back to you. Maybe don't keep watching all the things, but spend some time with you and what is inspiring you and looking at your next step and getting to the core of it, that maybe it's scary, but break it down, right? What is the smallest next step I can take? Or what's a large leap? Who knows? And then practice. Yeah? Discover the joy of living, even if it involves a bit of fear at first, because if we've been avoiding the things that might actually bring us joy, it's probably because we thought it would be really scary to take those first few steps. But that gets to be part of the journey too, you know? And you're going to see me as well doing that, because I've been kind of recording myself on my own journey. I'll eventually turn it into a video. But yeah, okay. My name is Lux. I want to create a space where we live sovereignly. We go after what we actually want. We create lives that we're excited about, and also that impact the world in a positive way. That's what I care about. I want more joy for everyone. I want more happiness. I want more freedom. I want more expansiveness, right? And that starts with me and showing up and making this video right now. which I'm doing. Yay. I'll see you here again very soon.